So I went through all 20,000 of the emails that the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee got from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. Obviously, people have paid a lot of attention to the emails that were released yesterday morning, where Jeffrey Epstein emails Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2011, referring to Donald Trump as the dog that isn't barking, and refers to Donald Trump having apparent knowledge about victims who it's alleged that Trump spent time with over at Jeffrey Epstein's house, according to these emails. But there's a lot more emails that are far more damaging. We see emails where it appears that Jeffrey Epstein is consulting with the Russian government like a week before the Helsinki summit back during Donald Trump's first term. He mentions consulting with Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, to provide information about Donald Trump, it seems, at least in these emails, to the Russians. You have Epstein referencing what appears to be a lot of dirt about Donald Trump's finances, about mortgages, about Donald Trump screwing people over. You have Epstein in these messages saying Donald Trump's the most disgusting human being he's ever seen, and there's not any ounce of goodness in Donald Trump's entire body. And he says Trump is even grosser in person than how he appears. Let me just go through these emails with you. I want to do this in a methodical way because I went through all 20,000 of these, and I want to highlight for you the key emails. I've broken them down here.
You know what? Sometimes timing is everything. And yesterday, November 12th, 2025, might go down as one of the most chaotic 24 hours in Trump's second presidency. We're talking about a perfect storm, a 43-day government shutdown finally ending, 20,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents getting dumped, and Stephen Colbert absolutely eviscerating Trump on national television for all of it. And here's the thing that makes this so delicious. Trump can't even fully enjoy the shutdown as everything. Government dysfunction, sex trafficking allegations, late-night comedy gold, and Trump's increasingly desperate attempts to make it all go away. The longest shutdown in American history. So first, the government shutdown, 43 days, that's not a typo. The federal government was shut down for 43 days, officially making it the longest government shutdown in United States history.
Let's just go through this together right now. So there's this email right here. Jeffrey Epstein in 2015, he emails someone named Landon Thomas Jr., and he says, have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door. You know, that's Donald Trump, Epstein, young women. Let's keep reading some of these emails. Jeffrey Epstein says in emails that he had been advising the Russian government on how to deal with Donald Trump, one of several cases in which he wielded his connections to try to influence the course of foreign affairs. So here's the email right here where you have Epstein emailing the former Prime Minister of Norway.
It started on October 1st when Congress couldn't agree on funding, and it didn't end until Trump signed a bill last night. And what was the holdup? Republicans refused to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies that help millions of Americans afford health insurance. Democrats said no subsidies, no deal. And for 43 days, both sides played chicken while federal workers went without paychecks, TSA agents worked for free, and food stamp benefits got slashed. Stephen Colbert covered this disaster night after night, and he wasn't pulling punches. Back in October, he joked that the U.S. Capitol had turned into a spirit Halloween.
Emailing Thorbjørn Jagland, former Prime Minister of Norway. So not just like a random person. And Epstein goes, I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight on talking to me. Vitaly Churkin used to, but he died. Other words, he says that I was giving information to this person. Lavrov can get the info for me before Helsinki. And then you have Thorbjørn Jagland says, I'll meet Lavrov's assistant on Monday and will suggest, thank you for a lovely evening. I'll come to UN high-level week. one of the top people at the UN. Churkin was great. He understood Trump after our conversations, Epstein says. It's not complex. He must be seen to get something. It's that simple.
The government is shut down indefinitely, yeah, Colbert said. So, like any building that sits unused this time of year, the Capitol is now a spirit Halloween. There's no great deals. Take the kids, get a big skeleton.
Speaking with Steve Bannon about how lawyers representing now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in his confirmation hearing should accuse Christine Blasey Ford, who accused him of assault, of being on medications that causes false memories or memory loss. This is from May 2017, Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Summers about Trump's level of guilt. Your world, Larry, does not understand how dumb he really is. He will blame everyone around him for bad results. Gary Cohn in a good place, as is Jared. All others are not long for this world. Now, here's an email from New York Times journalist Landon Thomas. I showed you one before, tipping Epstein off about following up investigations by a journalist and former NYPD detective, John Connolly. Thomas writes, he is digging around to Jeffrey, not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version, was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too.
The Supreme Court had to intervene to partially restore benefits while families lined up at food banks just trying to feed their kids. Colbert didn't let this slide. When the shutdown finally ended on Monday after 8, Democrats caved and voted with Republicans, getting basically nothing in return. Colbert was furious. The shutdown may have been long and painful for millions of Americans, he said, but at least it achieved jack squat. He specifically called out Senator Jeanne Shaheen, saying she crumbled like a granola bar in your backpack. Because here's what happened. Democrats held the line for 41 days, demanding that Republicans protect healthcare subsidies for millions of Americans.
Anyway, for what it's worth, ... Now, responding to a 2017 message that Trump was so gross, Jeffrey Epstein says Trump was worse in real life and up close. And someone says to Kathy Rumeyer says, Trump is so gross. Epstein goes on February 10th, 2017, worse in real life. She writes, hard to imagine. He really does remind me of MacGyver, and I'm suffering PTSD. No, I rank him much lower. Then there was this email between Epstein and someone whose name is redacted, perhaps a victim, and it is a YouTube link that has since been privated, and it says, how are you? Send this interview to Donald Trump, please. It's going to be everywhere. Someone who seems to have links there. Then there is Epstein writing to his lawyer, have one of your cronies ask to see the mortgage to Mar-a-Lago. Cash from Electricians Union. His driver, Matt, was the bag man. Later made an exec at the public company. Became an executive at the public company.
Then, with zero guarantees and just a vague promise of maybe a vote in December, 8 Senate Democrats folded. Jon Stewart was even more savage about it. You had the wind at your back, he raged on The Daily Show. Election victories all over the country. Democrats, you sold out the entire shutdown not to get what you want, but for a promise to not get what you want later. So Trump finally signs the bill yesterday, ending the longest shutdown in American history. And you'd think he'd want to celebrate, right? Talk about his big win? Nope. Because at the exact same moment he's in the Oval Office signing this bill, the House Oversight Committee is releasing 20,000 pages of...
And the $30 million loan from the casino to Donald Trump. Backdated. Okay, seem to be talking about serious financial issues. Judge for yourself. Then there is this related message about stealing pieces of an Atlantic City casino beaten up by Trump. Do you want in? So Reed, Weingarten, and Epstein are talking over here. Epstein says, speak, no, but you should talk to so-and-so. He knows something inside out. Then they go and talk about a person, and they say, been beaten up by Trump, promoter. He is straight with me and will with my direction be with you. That was sent on July 2nd, 2014.
And Trump's name is all over them. The Epstein Files bombshell. Here's what dropped yesterday morning. Emails between Jeffrey Epstein and journalist Michael Wolff, emails between Epstein and his convicted sex trafficking accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, and dozens of other communications that paint a deeply disturbing picture of Trump's relationship with Epstein. In one 2019 email, Epstein wrote about Trump, "Of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop." Read that again. Epstein is saying Trump knew about the underage girls, knew what was happening, and asked Maxwell to stop recruiting from Mar-a-Lago.
At least in this message right here between Linda Stone and Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein claims that right after the election, November 2016, he says in November 13th, 2016, that he is in the Trump Tower. She goes, "Where are you? You still in Paris?" And Epstein goes, "I'm in the Trump Tower." So was he in the Trump Tower that whole time? And when Donald Trump said, "Oh, I never spoke to him back in since 2003, 2004," is that all one big lie? Now, of course, you know the bombshell emails that came out earlier yesterday morning that everyone was talking about. It's why I'm not really focusing on those here. Like this one from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. This is April 2nd, 2011. Epstein to Maxwell. "I want you to realize that the dog hasn't barked is Trump. Victim," who's redacted, "spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." And Ghislaine Maxwell says, "I've been thinking about that." Then there's this message between Michael Wolff and Epstein, where Epstein talks about a victim at Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign from Mar-a-Lago. Epstein says, "I was never a member." Of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Of course Trump knew about the girls. Then there's this message from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. "I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then it gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt."
In another email from 2011, Epstein told Maxwell, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." Epstein was literally bragging that Trump had spent hours at his house with victims, but hadn't been publicly implicated. Call to action number 2. This is the kind of detailed, factual coverage you won't find anywhere else. Like this video and share it. The algorithm tries to suppress Trump critical content, but your engagement helps us reach more people. And it gets worse. There. In 2018, Epstein wrote to Obama's former White House counsel, "You see, I know how dirty Donald is." In another email, he called Trump borderline insane. And in one particularly chilling exchange with Wolff in 2015, when CNN was planning to ask Trump about his relationship with Epstein, Epstein offered to help craft Trump's answer. Stephen Colbert absolutely destroyed Trump over this last night. "That is never a good sign," Colbert said, "when Jeffrey Epstein is trying to help you draft a response like some kind of perverted Clippy. Looks like you're trying to avoid questions about sex crimes. Would you like help?" Think about how perfect that analogy is. Remember Clippy, that annoying Microsoft paperclip that would pop up and offer unsolicited help? Now imagine if Clippy was a convicted sex offender offering to help you lie about your involvement in sex trafficking. Show. Colbert also nailed Trump's hypocrisy. In 2019, when Donald Trump was president, Epstein emailed Wolff writing, "Of course Trump knew about the girls. Of course he did. They were best pals and underage girls was Epstein's whole thing. Yes, the Hamburglar was my best friend, but I always assumed he was getting the burgers legitimately. And then later I was like, oh wait, that's why he wore a mask." Now here's where this story takes another wild turn.
Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Wow, that's some serious stuff that they're talking about. Then you have this message, August 23rd, 2018. Jeffrey Epstein says, "I know how dirty Donald is." Can you imagine these messages that I'm reading? What's in the files if these are the messages that are not in the files? Now, do you all remember the lewd Epstein birthday book that included a joke about Epstein selling a fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump? Now these new documents to 20,000 emails, which I've gone through all of them.
Documents are being released Trump is literally holding emergency meetings in the White House Situation Room, trying to pressure Republican Congress members to back off from releasing even more files. See, there's this discharge petition in the House, basically a way to force a vote on legislation, even if leadership doesn't want it. Representatives Thomas Massie, Republican, and Ro Khanna, Democrat, started this petition months ago to force the Justice Department to release all of its Epstein files, not just these 20,000 pages. They needed 218 signatures to force a vote. And yesterday, the same day all these documents dropped, the 218th signature happened.
Show that Epstein was telling someone that he gave Trump his 20-year-old girlfriend in the mid-1990s, that he gave his girlfriend secondhand, which is what they were saying, that she was depreciated, sick, right? That he gave her his seconds. I mean, absolutely disgusting. And you'll see Epstein say, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 1993, that after 2 years, I gave her to Donald. I gave to Donald. Also, interestingly, Epstein said that Bill Clinton was never on the island in these emails. Epstein seems to suggest that he's with or near Donald Trump sometime in Thanksgiving of 2017 during his first term. And after the infamous plea deal, you take a look right here. Again, it's unclear what the hell is going on right here. But Epstein talks about where are you? He's such a snooze. Who else is down there? David Fizzle, Hansen, Trump. He's not necessarily saying he's specifically with Trump, but he's saying that Trump is down there. Take a look at some of these other messages right here. December 7th, 2016. You have Epstein to Jonathan Farkas. Hi, Jeffrey. Hope all is well. I think you're going to have a wonderful life from now on. In your opinion, how much is left in this market? It's been Trump's triumph. I gave him some money through Woody. Best, Jonathan. Yikes, your birthday coming up next month? Well, heaven can wait. Then there's this message right here. Jacqueline Johnson talks about a Jane Doe. Please notice the deposition of Miss Maxwell has been rescheduled. A re-notice taking deposition. Mr. Trump's deposition is scheduled for August 18th, 2009. So it seems that Trump had his deposition notice. This is a message from August 11, 2009. Again, unclear what that's about. I don't think Trump ever actually had the deposition taken.
A freshman Democrat named Adelita Grijalva got sworn in after waiting 50 days, and her first act was signing this petition. Which means in the coming weeks, there's going to be a House vote on whether to release everything the DOJ has on Epstein. And Trump is reportedly losing his mind over this. According to CNN, he personally called Republican Representatives Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert, trying to get them to remove their signatures. He held meetings in the Situation Room, but here's the beautiful part. They're not backing down. Nancy Mace, who's a sexual assault survivor herself, tweeted, I will never abandon other survivors.
You have Jonathan Farkas to Epstein over here. Summers and I talking to Trump and Melania last night. He looked and seemed very tired and upbeat. So this is, again, April 21st, 2019. Epstein has a direct line of what's going on in the White House. Then it goes to talk about, this is Larry Visosky, about to Jeffrey Epstein. Appears President Trump's B757 is an islip and we're parked right in front of it. It came here on Tuesday and is due to depart Wednesday this week. I mean, there are so many messages here, and he's constantly following Trump's plane and tracking Trump's plane with his sources on the inside. And I'll just maybe tie this together.
The work is too important. No one believes us, and we never get justice. Lauren Boebert said Trump didn't pressure her, but she's keeping her signature on the petition anyway. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene is on board with releasing the files. When MTG is standing against Trump on something, you know it's serious. Why this matters? Want more exposés on Trump's decades of scandals? We've got 40 episodes planned covering everything the mainstream media ignores. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Now, Trump's defenders are out in full force. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. But here's the thing. That's not what the emails say at all. These aren't accusations from political enemies. These are Jeffrey Epstein's own words, written to people he trusted before he knew they'd ever be made public. He's not trying to frame Trump or make him look bad. He's just casually mentioning how much Trump knew. And the timing is absolutely brutal for Trump. He can't even enjoy ending the longest government shutdown in history because every reporter in the signing ceremony was shouting questions about Epstein.
You remember Epstein in his conversation with Michael Wolff, when Wolff was thinking about writing the biography of Epstein? Remember, he knew very specific details about their communications about what was going on in the Trump administration. Now, with all of these emails as context, it kind of ties this all together now, doesn't it? Here, play this clip right here.
I think we have a snippet from one of the conversations that I recorded with Epstein, and I think this was in a restaurant in 2017.
His people fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside. He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag and Priest is not doing a good job and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says that you're a problem and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne is just too much of a wild card. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
I have more than dozens. I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing, deep relationship with Donald Trump.
There you have it, folks.
Trump refused to answer a single one, just signed the bill and walked out. Stephen Colbert has been documenting all of this in real time, and it's beautiful to watch. Because Colbert's not just making jokes. He's creating a historical record. When Trump inevitably tries to rewrite what happened, when his supporters claim the Epstein stuff is a hoax or the shutdown wasn't that bad, we'll have Colbert's monologues showing exactly what was said and when. And here's the delicious irony. Trump celebrated when CBS announced Colbert's show is ending in May 2026. I absolutely love that Colbert got fired, Trump wrote on Truth Social. His talent was even less than his ratings. Colbert's response? Go fuck yourself. And then Colbert just kept doing what he does best, exposing Trump's corruption and hypocrisy night after night. Even with his show ending, even knowing Trump celebrated his cancellation, Colbert is going out swinging. That's what makes him dangerous to Trump. He's not afraid. The government shutdown exposed Trump's willingness to hurt millions of Americans for political gain. The Epstein files expose, well, potentially something much darker. And Stephen Colbert is exposing all of it, joke by joke, night after night. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The House is going to vote on releasing all the Epstein files. The shutdown only funded the government through January, so we might do this whole dance again in 2 months. And Colbert has until May to keep absolutely demolishing Trump on national television. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad, it's getting even. And right now, with Trump signing bills while Epstein's words haunt him, with a comedian who's losing his show but refuses to stop fighting, with millions of Americans who just survived a 43-day government shutdown and want answers. Revenge might be getting served cold, but it's getting served